working with the Kansas City Star, and he's kind enough to hop on board with us right now. Blair, appreciate a few minutes. Thanks for the time, and how are you?
Doing great. I hope you're doing all right.
Well, thank you so much for hopping on board with us. Andy Reid, we heard a little bit what he had to say from Adam Schefter. We're going to play that a little bit later on in the show. But what has he been saying this week about playing his former team in the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, every media opportunity he's had this week, that's been the subject number one, and maybe that's because the Patriots game and the Patriots victory came on a Thursday, so you got through the weekend and you had 3 or 4 days to live in the glow of that. So when Monday came around, it was on to the next topic, on to the next opponent, and this was no matter where it fell on the schedule, the relationship, the Andy Reid, Doug Peterson, Andy Reid, Philadelphia relationship was going to be front and center, and it really has been, not just with him, but certainly with Doug in Philadelphia and assistant coaches here like Matt Nagy and players like Jason Kelsey. Everybody who's got a connection has weighed in on this week. It's been kind of fun, actually.
Before Andy got there, you had Todd Haley, and then you also had Romeo Crennel. And this is a Chiefs team that was in an abysmal state. Before Andy got there, under Romeo, they were 2-14. Then since Andy has got there, 11-5, 9-7, 11-5, and 12-4. And now they beat the Patriots to start off this season. To you, covering Andy Reid in Kansas City, what has impressed you the most with him as the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, there's a lot of things. He's gotten the offense has been really, really good without great players. Starting with Alex Smith, he had a fantastic game against New England last week, but I think people who watch football regularly would agree that you wouldn't put him in a top 10 of NFL quarterbacks, and yet. Here he is, a game manager type, and without a real strong arm, managing to win. His record as a starter is 41-20, and he's been to the playoffs 3 of the 4 years. And the fact that they won last year, the last 2 years without a 1,000-yard rusher, without a 1,000-yard. Travis Kelce was their leading receiver, about 1,100 yards. So he's managed to put together great game plans and execution of these game plans, really without many offensive stars. Most of the stars on this team have been on the defensive side since Andy's been here.
How about that dynamic with Alex Smith? Because we know Mahomes is going to be the hopeful future for the Kansas City Chiefs. I understand that Alex Smith believes that and knows that, hey, he's probably not going to be here after this year, judging by his comments from earlier in the week. So how about that relationship right now between Smith and Mahomes?
Yeah, that was an interesting topic from the night that the Chiefs drafted Mahomes. Traded with Buffalo to move up to the Buffalo spot at number 10 to get Mahomes, and Mahomes became the first quarterback that the Chiefs drafted in the first round since Todd Blackledge in 1983. So it had been that long, and so Chiefs fans were just excited as they could be when they drafted a quarterback. But Andy Reid and Alex Smith sort of made it was known right from the beginning that Alex Smith was going to be the quarterback this year. Mahomes, unlike Trubisky or Deshaun Watson, it wasn't going to be your starter this year. It was going to be Alex Smith, and so as long as that was established from the beginning, the fan base seemed to be good with it, and now they're great with it after seeing what Alex Smith did in the opening game. It made, I think, his best game as a Kansas City Chief with the 4 touchdown passes. So it just seems like a succession plan is in place. Mahomes will take over for Alex Smith, whether that's in 18 or 19, might depend on how far the Chiefs go this year.
And similar things were said when Carson Wentz was drafted by the Eagles, except you had Sam Bradford, who was whining through his agent, Tom Condon, and everyone was saying that Sam's going to be the quarterback, Carson's probably not going to play, and then you have the Teddy Bridgewater injury that did occur, and the next thing you know, Sam Bradford gets dealt out to Minnesota. So even though they said it with some of the digging that you do, as we're talking to Blair Kerkhoff of the Kansas City Star, do you believe at all maybe in the offseason that they were looking and listening to even have the possibility of maybe trading Alex Smith, or were they actually just being transparent saying that Mahomes isn't ready?
Well, we all thought that was going to be the case, or at least thought it was going to be possible, and it made some sense, as you said. But I think I think there's a dynamic with this Chiefs team this year that it's a team with a lot of veterans, and I think I think the veterans expressed that they wanted a veteran quarterback. They thought this was the window of opportunity would stay open with a veteran and not a rookie that you had to break in. And not that can't work. Look what happened in Dallas last year. So, but I think there was just in the locker room there was a sense that the Chiefs were better off this year with Alex Smith and not Patrick Mahomes. And even still, and on top of that, Mahomes seemed to understand that too, right from the get-go, that he was here to learn, and especially coming out of the type of offense that he ran in college, that crazy offense that Texas Tech runs. He did need the time to study under Andy Reid. The Andy Reid offense isn't picked up immediately. It takes a while to get it, and Patrick Mahomes is doing just that this year.
What have Chiefs players and also the coach and Andy Reid and also his staff been saying about Carson Wentz this week?
Nothing but good things, and how can you not after that performance against the Redskins? That was pretty impressive, and that one play where he scrambled out of trouble.
It was unreal.
Fun, and I hadn't seen that from him. I was so impressed. In fact, I was talking to somebody from North Dakota about that earlier this week, and they said that was something that you didn't see from him in college. That was such a remarkable mobility move by him. And if I'm an Eagles fan, man, I'd be pretty excited about what you got in Carson Wentz. I got to see him in college a couple times, and I thought he was going to be a big time player. I didn't know he'd be this good this early in his NFL career, but I'm excited for his future.
Since you've seen him before, give us a little bit more perspective on him, and what was those specific traits that you really did like about him when you walked away saying, hey, this kid's going to be a good one?
Well, here's the thing. You talk about he played at a level in college that you might not expect a kid who might have played in the SEC or the Big Ten, but where he played in college was the highest level, not the best program in that level, and they were playing against good competition in September every year, and then in December when they got to the playoffs. And the way he conducted himself and the way he ran a team, that the level of maturity and just he was advanced. He was just an advanced guy, and could easily have been a starting quarterback in the Pac-12 or the ACC. No doubt in my mind. He just happened to be there and led a program that has an incredibly rabid fan base that travels like a Nebraska type of program when they go on the road. He played big time college football in all sense and purpose, except for the classification on that's assigned to North Dakota State.
Now, I'll tell you this, even though everyone was in an exuberant mood from the 58-yard touchdown pass where he was just dodging people left and right and then threw it up to Nelson Aguilar, who broke free for the touchdown, that offensive line was not stellar, to say the least, on that play. Eagles' offensive line up against the Chiefs' defensive line. Break down this matchup for me.
Well, I think that's an edge to the Chiefs. The people in Kansas City were wondering what they were going to get from Justin Houston, who's missed pretty much all of the last two seasons after knee surgery, and they got the Justin Houston at least for one game anyway. That the best of Justin Houston with a couple of sacks of Tom Brady, and this was the guy who had 22 sacks back in, I think it was 2014 for the Chiefs. So. This could be a strength for the Chiefs. They run the 3-4 with Houston and D Ford on the outside, and when Justin Houston is on, he is a difference maker. So I do think that the Chiefs see that as an advantage against the Eagles, but who knows? I mean, who knows? This may be one of those areas where the familiarity comes in. With Doug Peterson. He knows the Chiefs' defense. He knows the personnel. He coached with these guys. There may be it'll be. I think that's a fascinating component to this game is what Doug Peterson knows about the Chiefs and what the Chiefs might know about the way Doug handles business in Philadelphia.
We heard Mike Lombardi's comments last week saying that Doug Peterson may be the most unqualified head coach that he's ever seen. You got to know him when he was in Kansas City. Tell me why Doug Peterson could be a good coach one day.
Well, I guess that remains to be seen. What becomes of him and his record there, but look, when he was here, he took an offense his last year here that we lost Jamal Charles like 5 games into the season.
Yeah, but how much was that him compared to Andy? Because we know he didn't get to do the play calling until the second half and in the second half of the season. So how much of that was him and not Andy?
Well, and if you look at what the Chiefs did in the second half of the season, they were 1-4 to start that year and won 10 games to finish it. And I think Doug had a lot to do with that. Now look, a lot of those games didn't come down to fourth quarter time management and worrying about play calling. They were pretty dominant in a lot of those games. Some of them did, but not the majority of them. So look, he gets credit for that. It wasn't until after the season that it was revealed that Doug Peterson was given more of the play calling responsibility and more of the decision making, and it just coincided with the best of the Chiefs that season. That was the year they went down and won a playoff game for the first time in 22 years. So he gets all the credit in the world. Whether he was ready to be a head coach or not, I don't know. Time will tell. I understand the arguments for and against, but look, all I know is he's 1-0, and they look pretty damn good doing it last week.
With the time management concerns, because we have those concerns with Doug Peterson. We've seen Andy Reid have blunders with time management so far in his career in Kansas City. You've seen that in the playoff game up against the Patriots last year, up against the Steelers. How about the time management element and how that's perceived with Andy Reid now being in Kansas City?
Yeah, that's something that just that'll follow. I think it'll follow Andy Reid, and it's his part of his reputation. And until he has a stroke of brilliance at the end of a game, that'll always be part of his narrative. The time management didn't hurt him last year, and the Steelers lost. A lot of other things hurt him, but they were in a position to tie that game with a 2-point conversion that got flagged for holding. The Patriots' playoff loss 2 years ago was I thought that was more of an indictment of Reid's play calling or time management than the Steelers game last year. But listen, Chiefs fans are just like Eagles fans were back in the day. They hold their breath in close games when late in the game because you just never know what you're going to get.
Now, clearly expectation changes. Maybe some people's feelings where they were after the Week 1 performance was just how lopsided it was in that fourth quarter. But did Chiefs fans go into the season believing, did a lot of them think that this team could win a Super Bowl?
Well, for a team that's won, 4 playoff games since winning the Super Bowl last,
and we're going back, way back.
Yeah, way back. They've only won 4 playoff games, and only 2 at home since 1970. So, I think this is a kind of a jaded group of fans.
Yeah.
They may not express it the way some do, but it's really, Missouri's the show me state, and there's a lot of that. You better prove it to me before I believe it, but. There is a sense that this team is better than last year's team that was 12-4 and won the division. Getting guys like Houston back, Alan Bailey in the middle, Derek Johnson, the linebacker, getting those guys back was a big boost to them. Now losing Eric Berry in the opener is a huge loss for the Chiefs. I mean, he's a real heart and soul guy. 3-time All-Pro, and this will be the first test without Eric Berry, and the Chiefs fans are worried about that. But
who replaces him this week? Who replaces Berry this week? I know it's tough to do, but who's the guy filling in?
Yeah,
for him?
you got two guys. One is Daniel Sorensen, who plays safety and some linebacker, and the other one to keep an eye on is a second-year pro named Eric Murray out of Minnesota. This is going to be the big test for him. He was a special teams guy last year. And now the spotlight falls on him. He's the one to keep an eye on, number 21.
Wrapping up with Blair Kerkhoff right now on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. A familiar friend now in Kansas City. That's a big theme for this game. Benny Logan. What's the latest on Big Benny?
Big Benny practiced today, which was good news
That's
for
good.
the Chiefs because he sat out yesterday with a knee. He was good against New England. He had 5 tackles and
he
was on the feet. On the field for 2 4th-and-1 stops, plugging up the middle. That's where the Chiefs were hurting last year. They were 26th in the NFL in run defense. Le'Veon Bell crushed them in the playoffs last year. They really needed to get better in the middle, and they think they've got their guy in Benny Logan.
What was the play? Was it in the New England game where he suffered the injury? What was the specific play? How did he hurt himself?
That we don't seem to know because
Okay.
he didn't come. There's no injury report after the game, and then all of a sudden he's out with a knee yesterday, and don't know if it was a practice or in the game.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, Blair, before we let you run, and this has been great stuff, we have to get to the emerging star of the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's Kareem Hunt. I got a chance to see him play up against Temple in a bowl game where he had 2 touchdowns, but some story with this kid.
Really is. I mean, he goes from who is this to regional cover of Sports Illustrated this week, and 246 total yards. And we saw it in training camp and in the preseason, a tough runner who could break tackles and had a little bit of speed, but nobody in their wildest imaginations thought we were going to see this type of performance against that team in that stadium in that environment. And how about this? He fumbles his very first NFL attempt, fumbles it away. Patriots go down and score. He gets the ball on the Chiefs' second snap of the game. So I thought that was a neat thing that Andy Reid did. They made sure they got him the ball again and they didn't. He 9-yard gain, held on to it, and then went on to a game of the ages for him. I don't know if they'll ever be able to duplicate something like that. That was an incredible. The Chiefs had one 100-yard rushing game last year individually, and he goes for 148 against the Patriots. So amazing game by him, and it really, gives him another weapon along with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce.
I'll tell you, and we know that both of these coaches clearly like to throw the football, but I think this game comes down to the offensive line play for both teams and also the run game. And I'm curious to see if Hunt can replicate that or even come close to what he did last week again this week. And we know the Eagles, they struggle running the football. But I think the offensive line, the running backs, they're going to have to step up. And the team that has the better O-line and running backs are to win this game.
I'm with you on that. I do think offensive line, and I like the Eagles on the offensive line for sure. Chiefs like what they've got offensively. We'll see. Let's see if the Eagles can keep Carson Wentz up and see if Carson's elusiveness comes into play again this week.
Blair, great stuff. Appreciate it. Blair Kerkhoff from the Kansas City Star. Thanks so much.
Take care.